Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here, weatherweb.net. Thanks again for watching. It's Friday the 8th of February. As always, the site's get free of charge by you coming back and using the site, using the charts, and also clicking on the adverts to use the adverts that are there. That's what generates revenue that keeps us free of charge, so thank you for doing that. Of course, the big news is the risk of snow on Sunday into Monday. How much and where that snow is going to be, that's the big question at the moment, and it's something that's been vexing us now for a couple of days. Some changes going on in the models which make things not particularly very easy, which of course is just the I suppose part of the course when it comes to forecasting, but it certainly is causing one or two problems in terms of there is this risk of heavy snow, but also the chance that it may be that some areas see very, very little at all. At the moment it looks like it's North Wales, Northern England, parts of East Anglia that are most at risk, but of course we'll update you on that throughout. So this is the chart that we've got at the moment. Got a ridge of high pressure that's just building through the country right now. Weak fronts dragging their way eastwards. They're bringing sort of outbreaks of rain, some sleet in there as well, and they'll continue through much of the day. Through the course of tomorrow morning, another front comes through. It brings some more outbreaks of rain across the country, but then what we find is it kind of gets stuck as it comes up against developing cold air out towards the east. Eventually gets a kick from the rear, and we find more persistent rain moving into Ireland, and it's this feature here. This is the one that brings the threat of some wintry weather. So that's the position then on Sunday morning. You see the low centred here in the southern Irish Sea. That's according to the GFS model, and the GFS is one of the warmer models just at the moment. And then what happens is through the course of Sunday the low slips its way southeastwards. It drags in cooler air into its northern side, and it turns some of the rain to sleet and snow. We think at the moment it's going to be the mountains of northern England and the high ground of eastern Scotland that sees most of the snow through Sunday afternoon, but it's cooling down all the time. Colder air is getting dragged into the system all the time, so the threat of that rain turning to snow is certainly very real. As I said, the GFS makes less of it, and I'll show you some of the other charts in just a moment, but there goes the low, look, heading southeastwards. This now is midnight on Tuesday, and the low kind of hangs around for a wee while, but then we get these easterly winds developing, these easterly winds bringing in some cooler conditions into the middle part of next week, before the GFS then predicts milder air getting in around about the 15th. And you'll remember, if you've been watching the videos, I said that the 15th to the 20th would be a transition period, I felt, to more mild conditions, although the latest long range is now trying to hint at some cooler weather, trying to get back in again at the end of the month. But what about the other charts for Saturday and Sunday? Well, this is the chart for midnight on Monday. So this is 0001 hours on Monday morning from the ECMWF, and you see the low there is centred across the west of Wales. If we take a look at the Canadian, the low is a little bit further south. It's over central southern parts of England, and on the GFS ensemble, very similar pattern there with the low over the southern parts of England. So we've got one there, we've got one here, and we've got another one on the GFS centred in here. So they're clustered around that area, but it's just super critical as to exactly where they are, as to what actually happens, to what the weather brings. So I think at the moment what we're going to go with is the idea of sort of Northern Ireland, northern parts of Wales, the North Midlands, northern parts of England, and then down through East Anglia. It's this area kind of in here that's most at risk at the moment of seeing snowfall into Monday morning. We'll release a snow map later, but it looks at the moment as if we're in for 2 to 5 centimetres. Down to the south it's probably just a case of some heavy rain, but again that area could shift north, it could shift south. Obviously what I don't want you to do is to say, oh well, you said it was going to snow. Well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's this threat of a significant area of snowfall, particularly across northern areas of the country, from Sunday into Monday. At the moment I'd be going for that risk probably somewhere around about 30%, so a 30% chance of significant snowfall. I think we're going to go with a 70% chance of somewhere across northern parts of the UK seeing some snow, and that includes East Anglia, I should say, as well. So it's that sort of confidence level that's in this just at the moment, and just interesting to see where the Canadian where the GFS ensemble takes it after that, because it's pulling the low down into central parts of Europe. Look, it then brings in this cold northeasterly flow for a time during the early part of next week across the south, and then it tries to bring milder air back in by about the 15th. There's the milder westerly flow, but it's always coming up, look, against this high that's building out here across Russia, and that brings in these cold north this cold southeasterly winds, blocking off conditions off towards the east. But the ensemble does try to bring in this milder westerly flow, and eventually what it then does is try to bring in a second area of low pressure, a little bit like this weekend there, look, into the 20th and 21st period, and bring in almost a repeat of the conditions that we've got this weekend. So I think we are going to go through this transition period between the 15th and the 20th. I do think that we probably will find it becoming quite wet during that time across the south of the country, northern areas tending to be cooler. But I do then think we see a transition back into more of a westerly flow, although you'll notice here, look, the ensemble is picking up this ridge again out towards the west and trying to make a similar pattern develop to the one that we've had over the past few days, well in fact over the past few weeks. So still a question mark over it, but again, I think I'm going to go 15th to about the 20th as the transition, and then I think we're going to look at the 21st or 22nd onwards, probably to take us into a westerly flow with nearer normal temperatures, but rather a wet and windy end to the month and an early part of March. So that's where we're going at the moment. That's where thoughts go right now. Difficult to nail this one down, particularly in the shorter term. And just before I go, this is just a quick look at the Japanese ensemble, the JMA, which has just been released. So this is the forecast from day 2 to day 8, and this was issued based on data from yesterday. So this takes us through to next Friday. So that would be Friday the 15th. Yeah, Friday the 15th. And what this shows is the British Isles is underneath there. Look, here's the ridge up towards the north, which is the high. There's the low here, the trough across central and eastern parts of Europe. And there's that kind of northeasterly flow trying to get in on the back of that trough. But there's the jet stream, look, rising across the top. So it's got fairly good initialisation across it. If we then look at week 2, this is week 2. And again, what it's trying to show when it arrives is the increased heights shifting a little bit further west, which has been a consistent theme of this model. It lowers the heights down to the south across the UK, puts the jet down through southern parts of Europe, look, and this would result in a more sort of north to northeasterly flow through the country, through Scotland and eastern parts of Scotland again, but bringing a west to northwesterly flow across the west of the country, which will keep us cool but more on the unsettled side. And then this is weeks 3 and 4, which again has this high across the northeastern parts of Canada, western Greenland. The jet very strong across the Atlantic, down into Europe again, but it puts us in a left exit region here again across the southwestern quarter of the country, which indicates that low pressure coming through would be able to develop close to us, and hints at this threat of windier, wetter weather, particularly across the south of the country. And that takes us through from day 16 to day 29. So that would be putting us forward to when? Well, that would put us through to around the end of the month, going into the early part of March. And that's exactly what I've been hinting at I thought would happen, this kind of windy, unsettled end to March. Of course, it's still a long way off. We'll see what happens, but it's interesting to see that the long range is starting to pick up on that as well. I think generally, though, we're going to be in a cool theme for the coming 4 or 5 weeks at least. So, thanks again for watching weatherweb.net. Remember, we're kept free of charge by the adverts you see around the screen. When you use the adverts or you use the charts, that's what generates revenue that keeps us free of charge. So thank you for doing that, and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.